What's done in the dark will always come to light, whether they like it or not. They thought they could get away with it. They plotted, they schemed, they whispered in secret corners, thinking no one would ever know. But God saw everything, the backstabbing, the lies, the manipulation. And now justice has been served. Here's a fact. 80% of betrayals come from people you trusted the most. Not enemies, not strangers. People you laughed with, prayed with, maybe even helped when they had nothing. The same ones who smiled in your face were the ones setting traps behind your back. And you know what's even crazier? They actually believed they would win, but there's something they underestimated, the power of divine exposure. They thought they had you cornered, but they were walking into their own downfall the entire time. And now the tables have turned so fast, it's giving them whiplash. So sit tight, because what you're about to hear is not just a story of betrayal. It's a revelation of how God flipped the script in your favor. And trust me, the way he did it, absolutely poetic. Number one, the people who smiled in your face were the ones digging your grave. The people who smiled in your face were the same ones plotting against you when you weren't looking. They laughed with you, acted like they supported you, and pretended to be happy for your success. But behind closed doors, they were rooting for your downfall. Not passively either. They were actively working against you, feeding lies into the ears of others, twisting narratives, and doing everything in their power to make sure you didn't rise above them. They didn't just betray you in silence, they made moves. They planted seeds of doubt in people's minds about you, hoping to ruin your reputation. They manipulated situations so that doors would close in your face. They celebrated your failures in secret and disguised their envy as concern. If you ever confided in them about your struggles, they didn't pray for you, they prayed against you. They took your weaknesses and used them as ammunition. The most twisted part? Some of them were the very people who once needed you. You helped them, you supported them. You stood by them in their lowest moments, and the moment they thought they didn't need you anymore, they turned on you. But even worse, some of them stayed close, not because they loved you, but because they needed to monitor you. They wanted front row seats to your destruction. They underestimated one thing, though. God saw it all. Every whispered conversation, every fake compliment, every deceptive move. They thought they were getting away with it, but in reality, they were setting themselves up for their own downfall. The trap they set for you, it's the very trap that caught them. And now you don't even have to lift a finger. Divine justice has spoken. It wasn't your loss, it was theirs. Because while they were busy trying to destroy you, God was preparing a table for you in their presence. And now all they can do is watch. Number two, they knew who you were before you knew who you were. Before you even knew who you were, they knew. They saw something in you that you hadn't yet discovered about yourself. That's why the attacks started early. You didn't understand why certain people treated you differently, why you faced so much resistance, or why you always seemed to be the target of jealousy and opposition. It never made sense, because you weren't doing anything to provoke it. You were just being yourself. But that was the problem. People recognized your light before you did. They saw your potential, your strength, and your purpose long before you ever stepped into it. And instead of being inspired, they became intimidated. They weren't fighting the version of you that existed at the time. They were fighting the version of you that they feared you would become. That's why some adults in your childhood seemed unusually hard on you. That's why certain people went out of their way to block your opportunities. They knew you were different, and they wanted to break you before you ever realized just how powerful you truly were. They saw leadership in you before you knew you had it. They saw favor on your life before you understood what it meant. They saw doors opening for you before you even reached them. And because they couldn't control it, they tried to sabotage it. The sad part? Some of them weren't even your enemies. They were people who should have nurtured and protected you. But instead of supporting you, they saw you as a threat. What they didn't realize was that their opposition wasn't stopping anything. In fact, it was fueling your growth. Every attempt to break you only made you stronger. Every setback was a setup for your elevation. Now, the very thing they feared the most is happening. You are stepping into everything they tried to keep you from, and the best part, there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Number three, the attacks were never about you. They were about who you were destined to become. The attacks you faced were never about who you were at the time. They were about who you were destined to become. If it were just about your past, the opposition would have ended a long time ago, but it didn't. It followed you. It intensified. It came from unexpected places, from people you never thought would turn against you. That's because the battle was never about what you did. It was about what you carried. People sensed something different about you, even before you understood it yourself. There was a weight to your presence, a power in your existence that disturbed those who relied on deception, manipulation, and control. The enemy knew that once you stepped into your purpose, once you fully awakened to who you were meant to be, you would be unstoppable. So the goal was simple: take you out before you got there. Not necessarily in a physical sense, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's why the betrayals cut so deep. That's why the rejection was relentless. That's why the struggle seemed unfair. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every season of loneliness. It was all an attempt to break you down before you fully realized who you were. If they could make you question yourself, doubt your calling, and feel unworthy, then they wouldn't have to fight you later, because you would have already disqualified yourself. But what they didn't count on was your resilience. They didn't expect you to survive. They thought the weight of the opposition would make you give up. Instead, it built you. Every attack, every setback, every betrayal only refined you. What was meant to destroy you actually prepared you. And now the very thing they feared is happening. You are stepping into your destiny. You are walking in your power. You are becoming exactly what they tried to stop. And the best part? There is absolutely nothing they can do to change it.